Bob Jones. Welcome back to the Media Madhouse podcast. I'm Abbie.
And I'm Rena.
And we have a special guest today, our friend Sofia, who has many, many thoughts about this topic.
Hello, I'm Sofia. Thanks for having me this week. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the movie Wish by Disney, which came out in 2023. And yet I'm still talking about it.
Still talking.
2025.
So do you want to give us a rundown of the movie, Sofia?
I don't know. You guys just watched it last
That's true.
week,
We
though.
didn't watch it. That's true.
Yeah.
So Wish first starts off with this girl called Asha. And Asha has a grandfather who she really wants his wish to come true because he's 100 years old, which is...
Did it like Disney? Like the 100th anniversary?
Was that seriously
Wait,
the point?
I don't know. I just got that now. I don't
That would
know.
piss me off.
Is that why they did it?
I don't know. I
I
just
don't know.
made that connection just now.
It was so random, though. Like, for him to be, 100 years old. It was just he doesn't look 100 years old, unless we're just, implying that
Bro
there's
did
some
not have
magic
enough-
that keeps him alive.
Bro did not have enough wrinkles.
No. He was so smooth-faced.
Like the great-grandmother in Coco looked older than that.
I know.
Yeah.
This guy was
Yeah.
on, retinol.
He just has a really good skincare routine.
Right.
Okay, but it follows Asha, and she really wants her grandfather to get his wish. And so she wants to become the king's apprentice, kind of both because she really likes the kingdom of Rosas, which is where they live, this little kingdom of wishes, but also because she kind of wants to hint, hint, nudge, nudge to King Magnifico that she wants her grandfather's wish fulfilled.
Well, because we're told that the apprentice's family gets their wish granted first.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
The apprentice and their entire family pretty much almost always get their wishes. So that's what we're told. So she goes and she tries to, apply to be King Magnifico's apprentice. And as she's doing it, she's like, oh, wow, he eventually shows her all the wishes of the Kingdom of Roses, everyone's wishes. And she's like, wow, this is so beautiful. And she finds her grandfather's wish. And she's like, this is amazing. Could you grant this for me, pretty please?
King's like, nah.
I don't think so.
And he's like, this is too vague. His wish was that he wants to inspire the next generation. And he's like, this is too vague. What does he mean by that? This could be dangerous. What if he wants to inspire them by doing a rebellious mob? What if he wants to do it by a song? You just don't know because it's too vague. It's like, that's a really good point.
That's a valid point.
That's a really good
valid
point.
To a point, it almost feels like a plot hole to me, though, because it's if you know this is a problem, then you should be informing your people. It needs to be specific.
Yeah.
Whatever you're asking for.
Yeah. Whatever, I guess. But she's eventually like, but I know he's a good person. And he's like, well, I don't. And it's like, yeah, good point. You don't know this guy. So she's like, oh, whatever. And they have a little argument about it.
So the main thing is that she's like, well, if you're not going to grant it, why not give it back? You know?
Yeah.
Which is the main, people often think that she actually wants him to grant all the wishes, but
It's not true.
It's not true.
Yeah, she doesn't want him to grant all the wishes, but she wants him to give them back so that way people can pursue them themselves.
Mhm.
And it's like, I can see where there's the really good in that from this is a children's movie kind of perspective. But I feel like you also have to be kind of realistic in that some people don't have good wishes.
Right.
And if they have the option to pursue it themselves, sometimes it leads to really, really bad world events.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. They can get their wishes back and they can pursue it themselves, but it can lead to really bad events. And I think that's a really valid point. You know, that's really good. Good on you for thinking about that.
It was an interesting idea to be explored. They just didn't do it well.
Yeah. You have to think about the balance between what people want and what the good of people is. And I think in the beginning of that, it's really portrayed really nicely. And then he's like, usually they wait a couple months or a year before they ask me for stuff. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, yeah, that was kind of stupid of you to do.
Yeah.
And eventually, King Magnifico goes, I decide what they deserve. And it's like, whoa, that's out of left field. Your entire characterization up to this point was just supposed to be someone who thought he was doing the good of the people, not someone who has this narcissistic ego. And so they eventually go to the wishing ceremony, and his wife, Queen Amaya, is like, oh, the wishing ceremony is here. You got to go do that. And he's like, cool, give Asha a front row seat. And she's like, no. And he's like, yeah, no, you're doing it. You're gonna watch this happen. And so they go to the wishing ceremony, and he kind of does a little fake out. He's like, and the person getting their wish is Sanria, when she is hoping
He's
that
like,
it's gonna be
this
Saba.
person has been waiting a long, long, long time for their wish.
And it's Sanria instead of Saba. It's like, oh, I see what you did there. That was a little funny.
Being a little silly.
Chris Pine, that was silly of you.
That was really silly of you.
Guy, don't. I love Chris Pine. Don't even talk to me.
No. He was the best part in the movie, which I
no,
never
for sure.
expected to say
He
about
was
Chris
the
Pine.
only part that I liked about
He was the only part. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Go on.
Yeah. We'll talk
about it.
We'll talk about it. And so eventually she goes off and she has her little Disney princess kind of.
Little I Want song.
Yeah, she has her Disney princess song where she's like, "Oh, I just want there to be good in the world and my morals are right." And she doesn't. I'll talk about it later.
Yeah,
but
we'll
she
talk
doesn't-
about that later because
she
I already
doesn't
know
have-
what you're getting into.
She doesn't have any character development.
No.
But she has her little Disney princess song, and she's like, "I am gonna make a wish, and I wish people to get their wishes." And it's like, okay, cool. And then
And she's gonna wish upon a star and
she's
not
gonna
give her
wish
wish to
upon a
Magnificent.
star.
That's so Disney.
That's so Disney.
Just like the
Get it?
song.
Just like the song.
Wish upon a star.
We should get that
Yeah, okay. But it's like, oh my god. And then this little star comes down.
Little
And-
in.
plushie.
Little guy is
He-
nonverbal.
He is autistic and nonverbal.
Oh my god.
Good for him. Good for
Good
him.
for him. We support him.
Sometimes. He's so cute. But what I hate about him is one, that he doesn't speak. Why couldn't you give him at least a couple
I
speaking lines?
hate nonverbal people.
Oh,
We're
Sophia-
not keeping that one in.
Sophia, you can't say that.
Sophia, you can't
No, I
say
was
that.
saying I was making fun of you for saying that.
When did I say that?
He's like, I hate that he doesn't talk.
Oh,
It's like the same thing.
I hate nonverbal people. What I hate about his design is one, that he doesn't talk, because I feel like they could have given him some speaking lines and he could have like been an actual character, because he doesn't feel like a character. He just feels like this. Yeah, he feels like this thing. His design is not for the movie. It's for marketability.
He's the Baby Yoda of the show.
He is.
He really is. Even Baby Yoda had more development than this character did.
Yeah.
And it's such a waste of potential. So she meets this star and he's going crazy. He's like, "And you get a wish, and you get a wish." He's all Oprah up in here. He's like, "You get a wish, and you get a wish, and you get a wish." And then Valentino the goat starts talking. He's
I
like,
hate my goat.
this guy's really passionate about
Guys,
being
a
the
little
goat.
upset.
This guy's a little upset. So yeah, the goat's a little
Interesting.
an interesting character.
Oh yeah, the star's only granting wishes to like animals. And
Yeah.
that's it. And their only wish is to talk and dance.
Yeah. Why is that
And that's
the
it.
chicken seed?
God, don't even know.
So anyways,
The face they were making during that scene was so like literally just.
that was my face.
Yeah.
You turned to me.
I know that's the
was
face I
my
was saying you were making.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I was during the entire movie. I was literally just sitting here like Dwayne the Rock Johnson
Oh,
over
you
here.
see what I'm seeing?
Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Vine boom sound effects. This is crazy. Okay, but the animals get wishes, and then Asha's friends, who have very interesting voice acting and very interesting lines, they're like, "Hey, what the hell is that?" And she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go get the wishes. I promise it's not gonna hurt you. Just let me go do this." And they're like, "Fine, whatever." And then the whole thing of the star coming down to Earth or whatever to help Asha has like this whole magical explosion. And King Magnifico is like, "What the hell was that?" And
Which, fair enough.
yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's like, what the hell was that? But whatever. And so he calls like an emergency meeting for the kingdom and is like, "Hey guys, that wasn't cool. Someone's trying to betray me. Keep an eye out." It's like, okay, whatever. He's like, "Whoever rats this guy out is gonna get their wish. And whoever is helping this rat out is not gonna get their wish ever." It's like, okay. All right, buddy.
It's so like, "Parent, I'll turn this car right around."
"I'm gonna turn this car around if you don't cut it out right now." It's like, okay, whatever. And Asha's like, "Uh-oh." So she's like, "Uh-oh." And she goes back home and she shows her family, Saba and her mom. She's like,
Look what I did.
Look what I found. She's like,
Because at this point she's taken the
yeah,
wishes, for
Yeah.
her grandpa and her mother's wish.
yes,
She took
has.
her grandpa's
Yeah.
wish at least.
Yeah. So Asha goes to the kingdom, or she goes to her friend Dahlia and is like, "Hey, can you get me up to the king's study?" And Dahlia's like, sure, but why? And she's like, don't ask questions. And Dahlia's like, okay, whatever you say.
All these people are so stupid.
Sure,
Go on.
whatever you say, Asha. You're the main character.
You're the main character.
I mean, you're my friend. You're my friend, not the main. You're the main character. I mean, my friend. It's like whatever. And so she goes up to King's study and she takes her grandfather's wish, and then she goes back home and she gives it to him. And he's like, oh, this is the part of me I've been missing for, 82 years. It's like, okay. And King Magnifico comes and he's like, that was not yours to give. I decide what the people deserve.
Wait, you skipped an important part, I think. Because after the star, like the little explosion thing, the king is freaking out because he's like, that was more powerful than me and I, can't have that. So he goes to this magic spell book that we saw in the beginning that he told Asha was a big no-no. It was forbidden. It was like bad magic. And he's like, well, maybe I'll just take a little gander.
A little peek.
A little look-see.
Yeah. And
then
his wife,
Queen Amaya's
wife is like, no, darling, you shouldn't do that. He's like, oh, you're so right.
Yeah.
You're so right, my gorgeous wife. Whatever you say.
He's like, you're so right. I love you so much. You are the best thing that's ever happened to me.
And like 10 minutes later, he's like,
we move on.
And then he starts looking at the book, and he basically becomes possessed by the evil book.
Queen Amaya holds his hand and goes, this isn't like you. Oh my God.
I can't take it anymore.
I can't take it anymore. I truly can't. So her grandfather gets his wish back, and he's like, this is the part of me I've been missing for 82 years. And then King Magnifico busts in like the Kool-Aid man and goes, that was not yours to give.
Just like that.
That's true. And he goes, I decide what the people deserve. And then he like has her mom's wish and
he's like,
he crushes her dreams. And like, oh.
And then she's like, oh,
I felt this before.
And she goes, I know this feeling. It is grief.
The dialogue is so stupid.
Wow. Wow, that
Good for you.
Good for you. That's
Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you, she said matter of fact. It's like, okay. Everything is just so stilted. So yada yada yada, big stuff. I was getting really fed up with the movie, so to be honest, I'm not gonna go through much more. But they make this whole plan, and the star's like, the star didn't do anything actually.
No,
she's
just there.
I was just like, we're gonna go to the castle, and they go back. And
storm the castle.
There's another wishing ceremony, and King Magnifico's like, somebody ratted her out. We know who it is now. And they're like, oh, who could it be? And it's Simon, Asha's friend, who's like clinically depressed because his wish was taken. And King Magnifico grants his wish, and he's like the king's valiant knight now. And then King Magnifico also like possesses him. And then suddenly he's like, and these are the other 6 traitors. It's like, wow, that was really bad. And then Asha's like, oh my God, we gotta get this going. And
gotta get the show on the road, man.
We gotta get the show on the road. And so her and her friends go into hiding, and she like finds them, and she's like, whatever they said about me, it wasn't
It's not true, I promise
Don't
you.
believe this.
It's not
Don't
true.
believe the
It's all
lies.
propaganda.
You're my friends. And they're like, oh, we don't like you. And then Dahlia's like, I believe you, Asha. It's like, all right. Kiss already. Or something, I don't know. What the hell? Then they have this whole song that really was kind of boring, but it wasn't the worst song in the world. But then Queen Amaya comes in. I actually liked the song
Okay,
after
I
that.
didn't mind this. We're
Queen
going to talk
Amaya-
about it later.
Queen Amaya's a really good singer. And
She is.
The instrumental for her part in that song,
Yeah.
it was
good.
pretty banger.
Mhm.
And then the song got boring again, and it's like, okay, now their plan is Asha's gonna go distract the king.
Okay.
Asha's gonna go distract the
Yeah.
king while the couple of them go and like free all the wishes.
That's right, yeah.
And so that's what happens. But then the king, who's following Asha, actually turns out to be Simon in this kind of like mirage.
Oh, I
And
totally
then-
forgot about that, yeah.
And stars with Asha's friends, and as they're freeing the wishes, King Magnifico comes and is like, you really thought that would work? And he
really
traps
thought.
Star into this little staff that he made whatever. He made a staff to trap the wishes. And he traps all the wishes in this big giant bubble, Steven Universe style. And then Asha somehow gets up there. How the hell does she get up there that fast? I forgot.
Movie
Movie magic.
Movie magic. And she's like, this isn't over. We're all stars. And then the entire kingdom
I
has their
sing a
big
reprise.
musical number. And Dahlia has a really strange singing accent. Then they free Star from the staff, and then they trap King Magnifico in the staff. And it all just happens in like the span of 15 minutes. And then Queen Amaya is like, hey, I'm the cool one now. And then now she's the cool ruler of the Kingdom of Roses. And they're like, long live the queen, yippee! And then the movie ends. And it's like,
oh no, and then she gets like a little...
Yeah, Asha gets her wand and is like, I'm going to become the new sorcerer of the... Or sorceress.
No, she's a fairy godmother.
Yeah, she's a fairy godmother
she's
of the
Sorcerer
kingdom.
Supreme.
She's Cinderella style over here. Okay. And then the movie ends and it's like, okay, cool. That was interesting.
Gave us nothing.
You gave us nothing.
Yay!
You gave us a plate full of nothing.
I don't even know where to start with the
I
nothing.
don't know where to start.
I feel like we should start with the visuals because there's like honestly not even that much to say about it. It's just like the animation looks bland.
Okay, you know what the visuals reminded me of?
What?
They reminded me of like, they were more for a kid's cartoon series than
for
an
sure.
actual
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah,
Like,
they
it looks like
literally-
Sophia the
cheap.
First.
It
That's
looks
what I was
cheap,
saying. Yeah, it gives me Sophia the First vibes.
Mhm.
The entire movie just gives me Sophia the First vibes
Yeah.
if they made Encanto into a Sophia the First type show.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is boring as hell. What happened to the great cinematic masterpieces of Disney? Like, they want to talk so much about how they have actual traditional water-painted backgrounds compared with almost 2D, 3D animation. You can't tell that unless someone had told you.
Yeah.
It doesn't look that way. It's just boring. And it's like, you could have went a little more across the Spider-Verse kind of style because clearly that's what they're
Mhm.
inspired by.
Mhm.
And you could have made it a little more artsy,
Mhm.
but you didn't. And so it just looks bland and it looks like maybe I should just go watch Sophia the First because that has a better storyline.
Yeah.
So,
And like, well, honestly, like I kind of just wish it was in 2D. Like I like
You
am
wish it was in
craving-
2D?
Don't.
Sorry.
No. I'm like craving a Disney 2D movie.
It was
that's-
originally supposed to be
I know.
2D.
And like it would have been so good if it was like classic and they brought in people with more of like a musical theater background for these
Yes.
songs and stuff. And like I need a like Hellfire villain
Mhm.
ballad,
Mhm.
and this was just not it.
No. Oh my god, don't even get me started.
bring back 2D Disney movies. Bring them back. And I know all of us, I don't know if the audience has seen it, but if you want a really good recent 2D hand-drawn movie, go watch. I know it's not Christmas anymore.
Yay! Go watch Klaus on Netflix.
Klaus is so good, dude.
Go
You
watch
just
Klaus.
it.
Good.
It
It's
is one of
amazing.
the most amazing recent movies. Maybe we should do that. As
Maybe we
well.
should
please,
start with
please,
Klaus.
But it's not Christmas.
Yeah.
We'll do it for Christmas. Well,
You let me know how that works. You let me know how that works. If you want to come back for Christmas, you'll be the only
We'll
one
do it
here.
in college. We'll do a little podcast.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll continue this in college after we're graduated.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. Media Madhouse is forever. We're never leaving.
We live here now.
9 more seasons, Rick and Morty style. It's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, the visuals, they could have done something with them, and they didn't. They like to say that they did something with them, but it doesn't look special.
Mhm.
No.
And it's just boring. And like, that's all you can really say. It's boring.
Yeah.
And you can talk about like cool techniques that you used all that you want, but if it doesn't like come across as like this is visually interesting, then it's like, okay, you just spent more money.
It's like, it's one thing to have the cartoonish realism of like Encanto or Coco or anything like that, or like Wall-E. And then it's another thing to have that stylized cartoonish style of Across the Spider-Verse. Like something like that, you can go one or the other, but you can't have both because if you go both, you end up with something like this and it looks like nothing.
I think part of it too for me, just like from a visual standpoint of why I feel like it feels so bland, is that they use all these like desaturated muted colors. And if they had just gone with like something brighter like they did with Spider-Verse, it would have added so much more. Or just like really in general, like contrasting colors, like even just playing with like the colors of like the shadows and highlights would have helped so much just to make it not look desaturated and like mush.
Yeah, where's the vibrancy? Where's the contrast? You're not giving us anything.
One of the main reasons people were saying it looks cheap was actually because, you know, they were trying to go for that stylized look, which I saw a video where some guy explained it very technically, but basically there's a setting on animation that they use for more photorealistic animation, which, you know, on an actual video, the object blurs within each frame, right? And that's part of what gives it its realism. But when you're trying to do something more stylized, you don't have that setting on the computer, which means that there's no blur in the frames, which means that all the movement looks very it looks
Too
plain
much.
and it looks too much. And I
Yeah.
actually saw someone like playing with the frames per second for like a
Yeah.
scene. and it
Motion
looks a lot
blur.
better. Motion blur. That's what it
Yes,
was.
motion blur is what helps create realism because your eyes register motion blur.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you wave your hand, you're not seeing every individual frame
Mhm.
in your eyes of your hand moving.
Mhm.
There's a blur. So, like, having that motion blur is what makes it realistic. I mean, if you look at frame by frame animation, for example, any frame by frame animation that's supposed to be like fast, like you look at cartoonish stuff or just like old cartoons, even new cartoons now, as long as they're 2D, they don't draw every frame. It's not like they're drawing a hand that's coming up
Yeah,
and it's all a hand. They will add,
Like a swoosh and
Yeah.
movement of the hand.
they'll add a distorted version of the hand to
Mhm.
make it look like there's movement because it's mimicking motion blur.
Which is what Spider-Verse did for the lack of motion
Yeah.
blur.
Yeah, because Spider-Verse, if you guys don't know this, is in a lower frame rate.
Mhm.
So it's supposed to help give it that stylized comic book, cartoonish feel in 3D animation.
Mhm.
So it's really cool to see that, but they didn't do any
They
of
didn't
that.
do
Yeah. It like honestly looks like you just like had models that you made in Maya and then just put a background on them and we're
Yeah.
like, there you go, that's
There
it.
you go.
And the lack of vibrancy really makes it to where it looks like there's no shadows at all.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it looks like they didn't even really render it. It's just very boring.
It just looks unfinished.
Yeah,
I feel like.
it looks unfinished. It looks like they released it as a work in progress.
Yeah.
And they never came back to it. But moving on from visuals,
Moving on.
the songs.
We need to talk about
Oh, we're
that.
talking about the songs first? Oh, God.
I think we should start with the opening song because to me it was literally just the Encanto opening song, but worse.
It was remade.
Yeah.
It's not the worst. Okay, no. No, it's pretty bad.
It's the worst, actually.
Because the movie actually starts with like a little storybook opening
Mhm.
that you got in the older Disney films, which gives you all the information that you need, and it acted as like an introduction. But then you have the intro song, which basically tells you everything that you just heard like 30 seconds ago.
And there's no point.
And there's no point because intro songs are usually supposed to tell you about the world, but also tell you about the character, specifically the protagonist. But we don't know anything about Asha in this song other than she knows a lot about the kingdom.
Yeah, we
That's
don't.
That's
literally
it.
all it is.
That's
It's
it.
just like here's the kingdom I
Yeah.
live in, and
Yeah.
that's it.
It's like, here's the kingdom I live in, told in a story. And then here's the kingdom I live in,
Told in a song in song form.
What's our third one? Who knows?
Who knows? The next time, I'm just going to do another podcast for you. She's going to actually tell us a podcast about, the kingdom.
Yeah. Oh, and I saw there was an interview with I was reading an interview with Asha's voice actor, and she had said that during the first song, she had made this like other personality for Asha that she titled Janet the tour guide, and she sang as Janet the tour guide in her mind, which is also probably why it doesn't tell us anything about Asha because it's not Asha singing, it's Janet.
Who the hell is Janet?
Janet?
That just like that feels like more to me of just like so much of like the unnecessary behind the scenes, like extra whatever they did for this movie that just doesn't come across
No.
quality wise at all.
Yeah. We did not need a whole tour guide thing.
No,
I think they just wanted to show off the kingdom, but they didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But they also wanted a storybook vibe to make people like the introduction. a little
Nostalgia.
more.
Yeah.
They're like, we can't just do an establishing shot. That's too boring.
and
It's a
boring.
musical.
It didn't work.
Exactly. Oh, you make a good point. Like, I've always wondered why she was a tour guide.
Yeah,
Because
they
then
wanna
she
show
goes
off the kingdom.
they want to show off the kingdom, and then she goes to try to be an apprentice, and her friends are like, You're gonna be apprentice. You care so much about it. You're the main tour guide, man. You're gonna
Yeah.
get this for sure. Like, what?
Like, that has no relation.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I kind of almost forgot that she even was a tour guide because other than the beginning, it's never mentioned.
Yeah.
It's never relevant.
I like honestly didn't even understand what her job was. I just like thought she was like somebody who worked in the castle.
I honestly thought she just wanted to be an apprentice, and other than that, she didn't have a job, and she was just kind of like volunteering to do tour guide work.
Right.
And that's the thing. We all have different interpretations because it's never specified.
Mhm.
When you lack specificity and you have so much irrelevance in your storyline, then it's a bad storyline.
Mhm.
You can't just put something in there, hope it's going to stick, and go. You can't just try and drive your car without starting it. It's not going to work. You're going nowhere. You're going nowhere fast, as they say. And my God, they went nowhere at the speed of light.
I feel like another one that at least I wanted to talk about was when like Star is there and he's like making all the animals talk and whatnot. It felt so incredibly busy to me. Like it was such a busy song that I was like, I don't what is happening?
There's too many voices.
There's too many voices, there's too many visuals, and it's all going so fast, and none of it's cohesive. It like the only point of the song is like, Star is here now, it is making animals talk.
And you're a star.
And you're a star. And that's all they had to get across. But they put in 30 bazillion elements that it's like, what is happening?
It was unnecessary.
Yeah.
They were definitely trying to copy Lin-Manuel Miranda's style.
Yeah. They were. They're trying to copy him, and they're also trying to give her like this Disney princess feel. Which one? She's not a Disney princess. So stop it.
She's just a tour guide.
She's just a tour guide, guys.
She's just a girl in the world.
She's just a fairy godmother. Disney's fairy godmother's new toy line. It's crazy.
But like they were also like they're going for like this Disney princess feel, but they were also like all the songs just feel like stereotypical pop, and it doesn't fit. And her voice. Like, she has a nice voice, but the way that she's singing is almost like she's not finishing her words and just getting to the next thing.
The lyrics are written so quickly. Like, she's singing so quickly that we had subtitles on for the movie.
Yeah.
If we didn't have subtitles, I would have not known a single word that she said. Yeah. It's so quick and it's so incomprehensible that there's no rhythm. It doesn't match with the instrumentation. And it just makes for a bad song because the instrumentation on its own is not terrible. It's not special by any means, but it's not terrible. It's very generic. But the rhythms, they stand out because they're so bad. You can't just have a generic instrumentation and put rhythm on top of it that doesn't fit. And sometimes you can do it if you know what you're doing because they saw Encanto and it worked really well with Encanto because you have to know how to do quick rhythms with generic instrumentation.
But they didn't even have you could have just put some supporting percussion there for the rhythms that they had people singing at, and it would have helped so much. And like for context, we're all band kids, so like we do know about this.
Yes, we know what we're talking about.
And like there would be times when she was singing, and I would be like tapping my foot along, and like she was landing all the beats, but just hearing it, it sounded so weird and off because you didn't have anything supporting the rhythms that she was going at.
Another reason why it sounded so bad was because, so there's like, when you're writing songs, there has to be a cadence to them, right? And something that the songwriter did was she emphasized parts of words that are not usually emphasized. You know, like you say tomato, not tomato. You know, and there's like
watermelon. You don't say watermelon.
Watermelon, yeah.
Like,
and it's just butchered all over the songs just because
every
to make
single
them
song
either rhyme or to make them fit the rhythm.
Yeah. Every single song that Asha sings has that weird stress on the wrong syllables of every word, especially at the ends of lines where she has this sort of pattern where she'll start out fast, she'll slow down, and then right at the end of the line, she'll speed up really fast and go into the next line. And it makes it really hard to hear what she's saying, and it also just doesn't fit. And it, to the untrained ear, you would think that she was switching time signatures almost every measure because of it. And it's like, that's not what's happening, but it's written so poorly that you can't tell otherwise.
Yeah. So,
and also another thing, you were talking about how she said that she was singing like Janet, the tour guide or whatever. In almost every single song that she sings, it sounds like she's switching accents. Like some of the ones, especially in the beginning, every single song that she sings from one to the next to the other, she sounds different.
She sounds different.
And it's not in a good way. It sounds off-putting. Like, I don't know much about her voice actor. I don't know what ethnicity she actually is, but she'll switch from like an almost Hispanic sounding accent to complete full-on African American. It's like that. Where did you get this from? One, it doesn't fit.
It doesn't even like fit the songs that it's changing for either.
Yeah.
I think a main part of it was just underdevelopment for the character. Like the voice actor didn't even have much to go off of because there was nothing there.
I doubt she
such a nothing character.
I doubt she even knew what the character looked like before she started voice acting.
Yeah.
And so they had to go with this character design that kind of fits whatever she's having to sing because there's no development. There's no planning for this. But
I think we should get into the villain song.
Yeah.
No. Can we just talk about the villain?
Just in general,
Just in general, because that, man.
Okay. I want to say this because I wrote so much about it.
Yeah.
Like, King Magnifico, as a concept, is a fantastic character. He is this king who really does care about the wishes of his people, and he wants to keep them safe, but he also knows that people can't just have their wishes willy-nilly or else bad things could happen. And that's a really good concept because there are going to be people who want bad things who should not get their wishes. Or there's going to be things that are just unrealistic. Like the whole person who wants to fly.
Not happening,
pointless.
bud.
That's pointless.
Oh my God.
Because some of those wishes are either pointless or they're dangerous. And he is so correct when he says that Saba's wish is too vague. Like, even if he gets his wish, it's so vague. What if he unintentionally inspires the next generation and it becomes something terrible and it's really bad for the world? You never know because it's so vague. And that's a really good point. And what I think they could have done, instead of making his foil be his ego and his narcissistic tendencies that they develop out of nowhere, I think they could have played on the fact that he hooks onto this and it makes him paranoid. And they could have had it to where, oh, he's this king who really wants the best for his people, but he wants it so much that he becomes paranoid and he ends up like becoming more and more specific about what wishes he should grant. And he starts, you know, catastrophizing some of the wishes. And he's like, I shouldn't grant this one because of this. This could happen, or I shouldn't grant this one because this could happen. And then as the storyline progresses and Asha eventually, you know, has the whole thing with Star and he gets terrified. He could be like, what if someone wants to grant all these wishes and terrible things could happen? And then he goes into the Forbidden Magic, which also is a really stupid name. They couldn't have given it any other name other than Forbidden Magic.
Yeah.
But they could have had it to where he sees it and he's like, oh my God, someone could do something terrible. And he goes into the Forbidden Magic and that thing increases his fears 100-fold. Like it hooks on to the worst parts of his fears and it makes him so paranoid that he becomes manic. And he is manic in the show, but it comes out of nowhere. He's such a normal guy and then it's supposed to be like, oh, he revealed his true colors. It's like,
No, he didn't.
no, he didn't.
He just got possessed.
Well,
That's
they
all.
have to play on his ego so heavily to like get him from point A to point B.
Yeah.
That like, well, also like I think part of my problem with that is like just how quickly into the movie they villainize him because they make like his opinion of like these wishes could potentially be dangerous. They immediately paint it as like that's ridiculous of him.
How dare you think that? It's like, no, it's a real
Yeah.
concern to have.
That's a big thing about the movie was it never really allowed you to form your own opinions about anything.
Yeah.
Like it told you
It was like, this is what you
exactly
have to think.
what you have to
Yeah.
think.
There wasn't that whole freedom of, oh, well, you should definitely take concern when wishing for stuff or when pursuing what you want to do. But the movie just kind of pushes this idea of everyone should get to do whatever they want to do, no matter what it is, no matter what you think about it. It's like, that's not a good idea because sometimes people don't have good wishes and sometimes people don't want good things. And that's not a good mentality to push onto kids because now it's going to be like, what if one kid takes this movie to heart and they see something that someone is not supposed to do, and then they think, well, Wish told me that people should get to do what they want to do no matter what it is because that's their right. It's like, no, what if it's something really terrible?
Yeah.
Bad things could happen, and that needs to be a real concern that is addressed in the real world. And if you have to address it through the movie, then address it through the movie, but don't just try and ignore it. So you could play on the fact of, you know, he becomes so paranoid about this fact that he becomes manic, and then Asha could be like, hey, not every wish is going to be that bad. So she's like telling him, like, hey, it's going to be okay. You don't have to catastrophize everything. Just calm down. And then she can go
Take a nap,
over.
man. Take a nap.
Yeah, take a nap. take a break. You'll be okay. Go get a drink of water. Go get a snack. Watch a movie.
Have a Snickers.
Go watch a movie. Not your own movie.
Not your
Go
own
watch a
movie.
It's a good
and
one.
then come back.
Watch the Spider-Verse.
There you go.
Watch Across the Spider-Verse. And then come back and we'll have a conversation. And then she can go to the people of Roses and be like, hey, wishes should only be made when they're super important. And not only does it teach this lesson of not thinking bad about everything, but also teaches the lesson of the importance of saying what you want, the importance of wishes, the importance of words, all this. And I think that's such a better message than just people should get to do what they want.
Well, I also think, like you said, like trying to help him understand what she's saying even, I think it was really weird because he's stereotyped so heavily and villainized so heavily, like almost from a story perspective, you do have to like kind of just have him get out of the way at the end. But I feel like it makes it so much less interesting. And it's like, okay, we just had our villain. We need to like Disney kids version of killing him off, basically.
Which is to trap him in the staff.
Yeah, which is like, it just leaves, it reinforces the idea that this is such a black and white story. It's like, if you don't have my opinion, you can't even be here.
Right.
Because you don't agree with my opinion. And like, yes, he was causing harm and whatnot, but it just left no room for like, we can talk about this, we can find a common ground. Like, that wasn't even a question.
Yeah, maybe Disney knows that they shouldn't make a sequel of this, so they made it to where there's no potential for one.
Yeah. And you mentioned about like the Disney killing off or whatever.
Yeah.
Which the whole relationship between Asha and the king is just, she has no sympathy at all, which is a main part of like your typical Disney protagonist. Because if you look at Disney protagonists and you know how the villains die, it's
they usually try and
to save them.
Yeah, they usually try to save them, or they try and see stuff from their perspective, and then they realize like, no, it's kind of a lost cause, and they kind of almost mourn the villain because it's like there was potential for them to be a good person, but it's just not there. And Asha's just like, get a load of this guy, and then he leaves. It's like that's not good.
Not, yeah. And every time a villain dies in a Disney movie, from what I can think of, it's not like directly the protagonist's fault, or like you said, it was like I tried, but
this is how it worked out.
Which just makes her like a really bad character.
Well, I feel like this has especially become, I think in just modern media in general, but I think Disney has been kind of falling into it too, of just like normalizing like violence or doing like bad things. I feel like a while ago, you would have this thing with like Disney villains where like if something tragic happens to the villain or they die or something, it's like that death is still mourned. But now it's like, oh yeah, we killed the villain. And it's like, you killed somebody.
Yeah.
Like, are we not going to talk about that?
It doesn't matter how bad the person is. Killing someone is traumatizing. And that's never, like, I'm not saying you should never have someone killed, because there are some really bad people in the world throughout history that definitely should not be alive. Thankfully, a lot of them are not. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it's still a really big deal. Like, if you kill someone in self-defense, a lot of the times, like, I don't know how much you guys know about true crime or whatever, but a lot of the times if someone kills someone else in self-defense, they will almost kill themselves because it's such a traumatizing thing to do. Even if they were doing it in self-defense, it's the guilt of there was nothing else I could do to protect myself.
And like, even in this case, even though Magnifico doesn't die, it's still like, okay, you've trapped him forever and like, he's
basically dead.
But like his wife isn't even concerned.
Let's talk about that.
Like, why is she not mourning him? I know. They literally had such a great relationship. Like, they were in love. Now, they tried to play it off as like this almost toxic relationship of he's like, oh, I gave you everything. I did everything for you. And she's just like stuck up to him. But I don't know. They actually genuinely have a good relationship until they force it to be that way. And she just doesn't care at all that she's lost her husband, lost the love of her life, lost the king.
And she's like literally smug about it at the end.
She is.
She's like, oh, I'm the queen now.
Upset about it.
And it's like, dude, like you just lost your husband.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it switches out so fast because, like you said, in the beginning they had such a good relationship, and then after he dabbles into the forbidden magic, she's like, oh, I've seen too much. I can't even, like, you didn't even try to bring him back. Like, there was no, and it might have worked out if they had hinted that maybe she had like a hidden agenda. But
that's what I thought they were going for at the beginning, but then it's just nothing.
No.
Yeah, like maybe if she had known that this was happening and she was like trying to do an uprising, but no. The entire movie was just, it felt in this little bubble of there is no world building. There is no development of the story. It's, here is a week in the life of the Kingdom of Roses, which is on this dinky little island, and that's the entire setting, is a week in the life of the Kingdom of Roses, and this is what happened. And that's it. it's not like a slice of life kind of story, but it's like the time frame is so small and the setting is so small that none of it means anything.
No, it's not like set anywhere, it just happened.
Yeah, it just happened. Like, it has no effect other than it happened.
Well, even in, like, different stories Disney has told where it's, like, you're just set in one place for the most part and you don't really go outside of it. Like, think of, like, Frozen with Arendelle. Like, they just stay in Arendelle. But you also have people, like, visiting from other places that you actually get backstory for. And this is just like, oh, people visit here.
People
That's
come
all.
here.
People come here.
People come here and they make wishes and then they live here.
Yeah.
And that's the story.
That's it. That's the story.
Yeah.
That's all you get. Speaking of playing a little devil's advocate, I guess, they have one cameo in this entire movie from another person. They have Peter Pan. That's it.
That's it.
Peter Pan's in there. He's not said that he's Peter Pan, but he's dressed like Peter Pan. They call him Peter.
Yeah.
And that's
That
enough?
was that.
Question
That's
mark?
enough.
That's enough?
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about wishes?
Wishes. Oh, yeah. It was just, it felt like it could have been a really cool idea that was explored. But the fact that most of the wishes are like, you can have really long hair, you can fly, you can make the prettiest dress in the world.
They're children's wishes.
Yeah.
Like, these people make these wishes when they are 18 years old or when they come to the island. And you're saying that this person wishes they could fly? This person wishes they could make the most beautiful dress in the world?
And
Like, you're not 5 years old,
right.
dude.
And like they make a big point of like the wish is like your heart's deepest, truest desire. Like that is part of your soul, and it's to make a pretty
No.
dress. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Saba's wish was a good one. Despite the flaws of it, like, not from a story writing perspective, but from an actual wish perspective of it really was too vague, it was a good wish. He wanted to inspire the next generation. That is something that is a good wish. I can imagine that being someone's deepest desires, just like someone's biggest desire is to be known to the entire world because you want that kind of perspective on you. Like, that is a good wish. That's a real wish that a lot of people have. To inspire the next generation is a real wish that a lot of people might have. But to fly, that's not a deep wish. Like, you're not going to set out your entire life to fly. I mean, you might, but...
Are you the Wright brothers? No.
Are you the Wright brothers? Are you a pilot? Like, I don't know, we're in a world full of magic. Go find some other way to fly.
Go find a fairy, bro.
Go find your fairy godmother. It's just so stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know. This entire movie, it was a watch, and that's all I can say.
Yeah.
I will say, I'm not going to watch it again. If someone is like, hey, let's watch Wish, and I'm like, you can turn it on in the background. I won't be in the same room. But moving on from that.
It just had so much potential. And actually, when I
So
came
much
out of the
potential.
theater, after I watched it, when it came out in 2023, I didn't hate it. I was like, okay, that was a disappointment, but like it got my brain working as to like, oh, why didn't this work? Or, like as a story creator,
Yeah.
why didn't this work? What would I have done and what not?
Because you like writing your own stories.
Right, yeah. And this was like a good example of like, I will not do
wasn't
that.
it.
That wasn't it. Why didn't this work and whatnot? And then the concept art started coming in, and we saw what could have been, and
Just like arcade.
just like
Yeah, do you want to talk about
Oh my
how
God.
you really wanted Starboy?
just okay.
Good response.
Just from a storytelling perspective, Asha really, really needed another character companion that would actually challenge her and challenge her beliefs and make her grow. And I think a character that actually could talk and had like, especially like a perspective from a star
That wasn't a talking goat.
that wasn't a talking goat and had such a interesting perspective that you could have done a lot of things with. That would have been such a good character to make Asha grow and challenge her beliefs. And yeah.
Honestly, as much as I hate romance, you could have almost had a romance kind of
you
thing.
could have,
going.
like, I don't know how to feel about it. Like, it could have gone either way and it would have been fine.
Like, you just needed like something extra of literally
Yes.
anything.
Yes.
Literally anything. And making the star an actual almost humanoid character that can talk, that actually has a humanoid form, would have changed the story so much. You could have taken it in any direction. Like, the only one that I'm most passionate about of taking it into another direction is King Magnifico. But, like, as soon as you start adding more elements like that, you can take it in so many directions to make it such a better story. I genuinely think all three of us, even if we were 12 years old, could write a better story than this.
Well, even with like by making like Star have a human form, you can also like take it from a moral perspective of like Magnifico wants to kidnap this person.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, oh, this like
Who's
little
also this
pushy
kid.
from the
He's
start.
also a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that makes it more messed up. Like if we go the route of he was super paranoid about this stuff, it would be such a better standpoint of like, you know, he's this manic character and then he ends up going so far that he tries to kidnap a literal child so that way he can get his power fix, so that way he can keep himself in this reign of power. And then, you know, they could redeem him and he could be like, holy crap, man, I screwed up.
Like, I'm sorry about that.
And like, he's not fully forgiven, but he's on his way to a redemption arc. And even then, you could kind of lead into that into a second movie if they really wanted to go that way. But at the same time, you could also just end it there. And that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Is to have a potential for another movie, but end it there just in case you don't.
And do you know why we didn't get Starboy? Do you know why he was cut?
Why did we not get Starboy?
So the original concept for him was he was going to be like a very like shapeshifter, very just a silly guy, you know?
I love that.
Yeah. And they were like, in this film, that was the 100th anniversary and the celebration of this company, and that had 20 bajillion Easter eggs. They were like, he's too close to the genie. We can't have that.
Oh my god, dude.
You want to know something? As much as you've talked about Starboy to me outside of this podcast, I never considered him
Never.
No.
to be
No.
anywhere close to the genie.
No. Because he's not. He's his own character. They're like, oh, he can shapeshift and he's doing silly things.
No one would have thought that.
No one would have thought that.
And like even if I don't know, like genies are a thing in like culture that
Yeah.
are
Right,
like that.
right.
It's not even necessarily like, oh, it'd be too close to Aladdin. Like that's just a concept that exists.
Yeah.
And it's fine if you have a similar concept that exists.
And also, why not give like a little nudge to one of your most like beloved characters, if that's what they were afraid of?
Yeah, if anything, Aladdin is a really popular
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Why not do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, people aren't going to be pissed because you made it similar to something else. Like, if it was super similar, then it's like, yeah, maybe you were a little on the nose. But he wasn't even of similar design.
No.
Yeah.
Movie, overall,
Ratings.
ratings. Yeah. Okay, Sophia, since
go
you're the one
first.
who is so passionate about this, you're the one who's so passionate about this movie. You've talked about it for the past 2 years.
Oh my god.
About how much you dislike this movie and how you would change it. And you've drawn and written concept art for how you would change it. What is the rating you would give this movie?
This movie, out of 10,
Yes.
Out of 10.
3 out of 10 just for potential.
3 out of 10 just for potential. What would you give it?
2 out of 10, man. I did not like it.
To be honest, I don't even know if I want to give it 2.
Oh my god.
I'll give it 2 just for the potential because I really think King Magnifico could have been such a good character. I mean, not to glaze my own thoughts, but just watching the movie and coming up with the whole thing of like him being based on paranoia rather than ego, I think that could have made so much more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, my 1 point was for potential. My other point was because Chris Pine was in it.
True.
He did such a good voice.
He
He
did.
did a really good performance. He was having a lot of fun, and you could tell.
Yeah. His voice actor, despite the terrible lines, really good voice acting.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, Simon, for the like less than a minute of lines that he has, he does strangely good voice acting. Like
I
the part where
know.
he's apologizing to Asha at the end and he's like on the verge of tears, he has like this shake in his voice. I'm like, wow, I didn't expect you to do that. I liked that.
Yeah.
Wow, that was nice. But okay.
So, what should we do if we want something that's better than Wish,
Yeah.
but like kind of related?
If you want to watch more Wish, which you don't, trust me, you don't. If you do, leave. If you want something better than Wish, go watch probably literally any other Disney or Pixar movie.
Like watch Encanto or watch some better animation, like Into the
Some older
Spider-Verse.
animation, yeah.
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, Encanto. You can go watch some Wall-E. What's your favorite Pixar movie, Sophia?
Favorite Pixar movie? I really like Coco.
What's
It was
yours?
a really good movie.
I don't know which ones are Pixar and Disney.
Wow.
The
This
ones
guy's a
without
fake
the
fan.
princesses
I'm a
are the
fake
ones that are
fan.
Pixar.
Guys, go watch Atlantis. I don't care which one that is.
Go watch
That's
Luca.
Disney.
Go watch Luca.
Luca's
It's my
so
favorite.
cute.
Yeah, go watch Luca.
Luca is my favorite Pixar movie ever. I cry every single time at the end.
Oh.
It's cute.
It's a really cute movie. So go watch that instead. I might go watch this. I might go watch it after this. I gotta cleanse my palate after this. Ugh, that was terrible. But that'll be it for today. So
thank you guys for having me.
yeah.
Of course.
And this might be recurring. Who knows? I guess we'll find out.
Find out.
Okay. Tune in next week. Game on, Bob Jones.
Bye.
Bye.